So you started boxing, you're hitting the heavy bag, you're doing these intense workouts, and you feel like you're becoming the world champ. I've been there, it is not true, and let me tell you one simple thing that can make you improve way quicker than anything we heard of until now. Training hard and huge effort doesn't mean progress always, especially in boxing. The goal of this video is to tell you one thing that once you learn it, it shifts everything. Your power, your punches, your speed, etc. My name is Reiners. I've been training boxing for over 6 years, martial arts for over 10 years, and coaching for over 5 years. I started off with training groups, then I trained individually, and I noticed something, especially with beginners. The way I look at it is like this. You come in a gym for the first time, it's like you're building a house. So if you mess up the base of the house, eventually from the pressure it's going to start to distort. The upper floors will tilt, everything will just tweak out. That is exactly what happens when you start building a lot of skill on a weak physical base. And the one thing that changes that I want to talk to about today is the engine, and that is your core hip chain. Your anterior and your posterior chain is your engine. That is what transfers force, creates power, and keeps you in balance. To break it down, your anterior chain is your abs, your obliques, and your hip flexors. Your posterior chain is your glutes, hamstrings, and spinal stabilizers. That is the one thing that every boxer needs, and in my opinion, it is more important than skill when you're starting out, because somebody that has more skill but doesn't have the base, they will get pushed around, they will break their base, eventually they will get tired and they won't have time to react. And in boxing, time is a big thing. If you have time to react, you're already getting the better of the boxing match or a round or whatever. Even on the heavy bag, if you look at elite boxers, it is always making them second guess. They don't have time to think, they don't have time to reset. That's why sometimes it looks chaotic. But that is the reality of things, that if you have time in boxing, you're basically winning. And this is what buys you time, because you're based. You can see what's coming, your chain is set, and obviously skills come with it, but this is the first thing you need before you actually ramp up the skill. Skill versus capacity. You can have skill, but if your body can't handle that skill, you're going to get gassed, you're going to get tired, you won't be able to counter because your body can't react that fast. You will fall off balance, you can't recover mid-combo because you're using the wrong muscles. It doesn't even have to be sparring or matches. If you're on the heavy bag and you're using muscles that shouldn't be used, and you're doing that over and over and over again, you're reinforcing those habits. And if you're doing it for workout, then sure. But if you actually want to develop a healthy body, a balanced body, then you need to develop your posterior and anterior chain in specific ways for boxing. So how you can train it, to make it really simple, let's say you're training 5 times a week, just take 2 or 3 days to develop those muscle groups. I will put some exercises on the screen here. It can be hip thrusts, it can be back workouts, it can be ab workouts. It doesn't have to be difficult, but eventually it will add up and you will feel it in the training. Even if you're just hitting pads or the heavy bag, you will feel way different once you do. And then obviously skill is a major thing as well, but that comes from balance. All skills in boxing come from balance. So there is footwork. It's a really important thing to train. If you can move in all directions, you can do all types of movements. Most of your opponents won't be able to do that. And that actually, once I found that out, it gave me a big advantage in the beginning, because in the lower levels, all these things, they make a huge difference. You know, your base, your basics, how your footwork is, how balanced you are, how can you buy yourself time. And once you get up at a certain level, people also train smart. You know, at a lower level, usually people just train hard. Once you go up, people also train hard, and they combine those two together. They can be separated. But if you're starting out, you need these couple of things to really have that arsenal to build off of, so your house looks beautiful and you can do all the things you want later. The thing is, for beginners, when they come in the gym, they just think more combos, more advanced moves, more flashy moves, more stuff like that. And that's instinctual, right? Because you see the best do that. But what you don't maybe pay attention to, and you will, once you start training this, you will start paying attention to this in fights. You can watch fights and you'll see that the elite, they have a really good base. Their hip chain is really strong. Their footwork is really solid. You will start to pay attention to these things. But if you don't know, all you're going to see is a lot of combos. Maybe they're doing some pivots. Maybe they're doing some shifts. And that is all you see. And then obviously you're going to come in the gym, and what you're going to do? You're going to do the same thing. You're going to try to have 12 punch combinations. You're going to do the Mayweather pad work. You're going to do the gazelle hook. You're going to do all these things. But then at the end of the day, once you go sparring, if you haven't yet, or if you have, you already know that in the sparring, everything you do on the bag doesn't work. You do maybe 5% of what you did on the heavy bag. And that is just the reality of boxing, that it's a realistic sport. The fastest way to progress is actually sparring, But the thing is that if you're just doing that way too much without the skill, then you're just getting brain damage, right? Because every time you get hit, that is just damage to your brain. So you'd want to lessen that by extending the amount of skill you do, and then eventually transferring that into the sparring, the stuff you do in training, right? Because if you're just getting hit, it's not good for you. Maybe it's good for your opponent, but it's not good for you, definitely. So you need to have an understanding of which things are important, which things to apply in your training so you can actually get better. Because if you're coming in, I don't know, for months and doing the same thing, uh, if it's, with foundation, if it's good, then that is great. But if you're just throwing random combinations every time you're in the gym, then you're doing something wrong, because that is definitely not going to work once you get in a sparring, especially at a competitive level. Then it starts to get more intense, and stuff like that will just fall apart. The house will fall apart. Once you go up the floors, the house will just start falling apart. You don't need to change your entire training. You do listen to your coach, you do the things you must do, but then 1 to 2 times a week, you add deep core training that is anti-rotation, isometrics, etc. You train your hips and glutes, you train your posterior chain, and that will give your body the structure to still last under fatigue and in intense situations and still be able to see stuff. Once you will do that, your footwork will feel lighter, you will not gas out, your punches will snap back faster because you will start to develop your back muscles. So please don't do what I did. Don't wait until you're burnt out. Don't wait until you're injured, or don't wait until you're stuck and want to quit the sport to learn this. So build it now, add it in now, and then later you'll see the fruits that you will reap. If this video helped you, copy the link and send it to someone else who it may help, maybe your training partner or somebody who's starting boxing. Make sure to subscribe and like, it does help the channel. This is my first long form YouTube video. I'll definitely have more interesting stuff and useful content coming. I'll link down below my social media and more resources where you can learn more stuff on footwork, on drills, etc. that can help you in your training. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.